Likely you have noticed the difference in the wording of our previous New World Translation and the Revised. As shown in the Examining the Scriptures Daily, the wording previously was, observe the oneness of the Spirit. But now we have maintain the oneness of the Spirit. So that better gives the idea, doesn't it? We all have responsibility to do maintenance work, we could say, on this oneness that Jehovah loves. But what do we mean by this oneness? Well, it's interesting. In the Insight book, it says the number one, when used figuratively, conveys the thought of singleness, unity, agreement, and purpose or action. So no wonder Jehovah loves this oneness in his organization, because it results in accomplishment, peace, harmony, happiness. 1 Corinthians 14:33 says, God is a God not of disorder, but of peace. Jesus also loves oneness. Now here are a few examples of expressions that Jesus made, and he perfectly reflects Jehovah's thinking, but showing how he certainly loves oneness. Matthew 19:5-6, he says, a man will leave his father and his mother, and he will stick to his wife, and the two will be one flesh, indicating the unity that should exist. Or what about John 10:16? Jesus said, I have other sheep, not of this fold. I'll bring them, and they will become one flock under one shepherd. Or what about John 10:30? Jesus said, I and the Father are one. John 17:11 in prayer, Jesus said, Father, watch over them, that is his disciples, so that they may be one, just as we are one. Yes, Jehovah and Jesus love this oneness. Now, if you think about it, before Satan, the devil, arrived on the scene, there was genuine oneness in Jehovah's organization. In fact, there was just one organization. Jehovah's perfect, harmonious, happy organization. But then Satan arrived on the scene, didn't he? And he was the original serpent, but he was also the original disruptor of oneness. He separated himself from Jehovah. He succeeded in separating the first two humans from Jehovah. He even seduced certain angels away from Jehovah, establishing thereby a rival, rebel organization. But how thankful we are that this situation of disorder is only temporary. Ephesians 1:10 says Jehovah has an administration that's going to gather all things in the Christ, the things in the heavens and the things on the earth. And we know that both stages of that administration are rapidly developing in these last days, with the ultimate goal at the end of the 1,000-year reign, when Jesus hands everything back to Jehovah, that God will be all things to everyone. So that original oneness will be restored. But in the meantime, what does Jehovah expect us to do? Well, he wants us to be assets, never liabilities toward this oneness. Or using a banking illustration, he wants us to make deposits rather than withdrawals from this oneness, never even slightly resembling the original oneness disruptor, Satan, the devil. But now we're going to talk about, for most of the rest of our time, something that can contribute toward maintaining this oneness. A very important point, and that is, if all of us prayerfully strive to maintain a balanced view of ourselves. Please open up to Romans chapter 12. And on this thought, striving to maintain a balanced view of ourselves will definitely contribute toward oneness. And notice how it's nicely expressed here in this scripture. Romans 12, verse 3, it says, For through the undeserved kindness given to me, I tell everyone there among you not to think more of himself than it is necessary to think, but to think so as to have a sound mind, each one as God has given to him a measure of faith. So the thought is made that we are not to think too much of ourselves. I mean, ponder this. If we think too much of ourselves, then we're elevated above our brothers. See, our brothers are here, all our brothers, Jesus said, but if we think too much, we're elevated. In a sense, that's divisive, isn't it? See, it's separating us from our brothers. What's an indicator that we don't think too much of ourselves? Well, one, willingness to yield. Do things someone else's way as long as the scriptural principle is not violated. Another indicator, we're willing to forego our so-called personal rights in order to pursue or advance oneness. Now, to illustrate this, a person who thinks too much of himself, he might think, well, it's my hair, my clothes. I have the right to dress or groom any way I want to. I don't care who likes it. Well, that may be true, but what does 1 Corinthians 10:23 say? It says all things are lawful, but not all things are advantageous. So they may not advance oneness. A person who doesn't think too much of himself will forego his right, even if he has a right, if exercising that right would be a negative toward oneness. The Apostle Paul, remember what he said? He said, if eating meat stumbles my brother, I'll never eat meat again. See, he was humble, obviously. But now, ponder this, please. If we think too little of ourselves, that scripture in Romans 12:3 says we're not to think more of ourselves than necessary. It is necessary to think some of ourselves. If we think too little of ourselves, now we're below our brothers, aren't we? And again, that's divisive in a sense. See, that oneness is lost. If we think, well, we're worthless, Jehovah doesn't love us, our brothers don't love us, we're unloved, we're unlovable, even the ransom can't cover us. See, it's true, we want to be down to earth, but we don't want to be subterranean. Now we're way down below our brothers, aren't we? So that's divisive too. So thinking too much, too little, divisive, but a balanced view contributes toward the oneness. Now, if we had time, we could discuss several other ways we could contribute toward the oneness that Jehovah and Jesus love. For example, we could talk about being a skillful peacemaker. See, not just peaceful, that's tranquil, that's passive, isn't it? As has been said, a corpse is very peaceful, but it's not a peacemaker. See, a peacemaker actively pursues peace, making peace where it didn't previously exist, between ourselves and others where it's lost, or even trying to negotiate peace between ones that have lost peace. Another way we can contribute to the oneness, rejecting false stories that are designed to separate us from Jehovah's organization. As an example, think about the apostate-driven lies and dishonesties that Jehovah's organization is permissive toward pedophiles. I mean, that is ridiculous, isn't it? If anybody takes action against someone who would threaten our young ones and takes action to protect our young ones, it's Jehovah's organization. We reject outright such lies. Another example, not falling into the trap of fear of man. If you think about it, fear of man caused the apostles to abandon Jesus. It was divisive. So we don't fall into that trap. And one thing that can really help us is to recognize what fear of man is tantamount to. It's really tantamount to fear of Satan. Because any human who tries to get us to compromise Bible principles really is an agent of Satan. So if you fear that person, you're fearing Satan. We don't fear Satan. We hate him. We oppose him. Another, we repudiate any form of prejudice, which is very divisive. We reject any form of nationalism. Well, those are just a few examples of how we can promote this oneness that Jehovah and Jesus love, and how different it is from the fragmented, visible part of Satan's organization. I mean, Satan's organization is fragmented nationally, racially, politically, socially, and every other way, isn't it? And evidently, apparently, obviously, the fragmented condition of the visible part of Satan's organization is a reflection of what exists in the invisible part of Satan's organization. See, Satan's a rebel. The demons are rebels. They are divisive, and you can be sure they have no unity among themselves. None between Satan and the demons, between the individual demons. But how we love this oneness, and as we contribute to it, and as we've had pointed out recently, we're one organization with an earthly part, a heavenly part, and as we contribute to this oneness, Jehovah and Jesus will love us, and they will bless us.